and welcome to Getaway Day. My name is Gautam. His name is Mason, and today we're going to try to podcast. How are you doing today, Mason?
I'm doing well. So far, I can hear you. You're not all choppy. Unfortunately, even the part that we thought we might be able to use as a short bit from last week.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
Well,
there is nothing that we started talking about last week that anyone has heard.
okay. Well, today we have a lot to get to. A lot of has happened transaction-wise. We also wanted to get into free agents, and we've been trying to get to this for quite a while now. But the good news is only one major free agent has signed, and that would be Josh Naylor. Um, but we're gonna do a little game called Pay or Pass for the top free agents, and this game goes kind of like this. We're just gonna list the name of a player from the Fangraphs free agent list, and then I'll take one side of the argument, you'll take the other, and we'll try to answer the question: do we pay this guy? Do we pass on this guy? Before
So,
we get into that, though, go ahead.
Is it pay or pass based on the estimated contract value from that list as well? Because
We
ultimately,
could do that,
pay all of them. It's just how much do
right?
you pay them?
Maybe that would be a fun way to do it, actually. We'll use the crowdsourced value for like the number of years and total contract value to say pay or pass. So that'll ground us in something. I like
Perfect.
that. Before we do get into that game, though, let's talk about a couple other things that happened. Qualifying offers, non-tender deadline last Friday, a couple minor signings, and then some trades that surprised me, and I think they surprised you too.
I have no idea what any of the trades were, so
That's not true at all. You just are forgetting in this moment, I think.
no,
But we'll get there.
no. I just randomly picked this outfit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
For the listeners only, Mason is decked out in all his Mets gear
Oh yeah.
today.
Luckily, Francisco
Okay.
Alvarez was not part of the trade, so I'm not out of date.
Yeah. Okay, so we had a record set last Tuesday on the qualifying offer deadline. 11 players were extended this qualifying offer,
13.
and four of them, how many?
13.
13. Okay, 13. Sorry. 13 were offered a qualifying offer, and four accepted. And that's the most that's ever accepted in one single year. Typically, it's like 10% of the guys will accept this, and here it's a lot more than that. Trent Grisham, Shota Imanaga, Brandon Woodruff, and Gleyber Torres. We already kind of talked about these guys in greater detail, but any thoughts on the four accepting QO guys?
So Grisham, Glaber make a ton of sense to me. I do think Glaber may have been able to get a contract lower AAV, but like an extra year or two on it that made it worthwhile for him. But it makes sense that he's going to go take the 22 million or 23 million that it is this year. Grisham, I don't think he would have got anywhere near this in AAV for any contract he would get. So it makes a ton of sense. We were talking a lot about Shota and Brandon Woodruff and if they should be in a bet on themselves based on their past. Like Shota really only had like a poor second half last year, but still is a very, very good pitcher. I think that he could have got a better deal than just a 1 year because he's now delaying his free agency another year. Same with Brandon Woodruff, who came back from injury and showed that he is not the same pitcher that he was before, but an equally effective pitcher than he was before. So I really do think he could have bet on himself. So the fact that we got all four of those guys accepting surprises me a bit. But I understand it from each of their perspectives as well, especially with Shota coming off a poor second half, Woodruff coming off of some big injuries here in the last few years. So
I think I agree on Grisham and Glaber. The one thing that I'll add on the pitchers, just having that familiarity with their teams. Like Woodruff's had his entire career with Milwaukee, and they're obviously very good. They've been very good for him. He's had a great career to this point. He's already got like familiarity with their whole pitching infrastructure, and kind of the same thing goes with Shota. Like even though he did struggle in the second half, he had so much success in the first year. Why not go back and try to, it kind of is still betting on yourself by going back to your original team because they think that they can go get a bigger deal next year.
That's true. And these guys can still get a contract with those teams. Like, it's not saying they can't
Exactly.
get an extension for this year. It just puts them into essentially, in football terms, a restricted free agent. So,
Yep.
yeah.
And then on Friday, we had the non tender deadline, and there were a ton of players that were unsurprising non tenders, but there were like a few notable names that I have highlighted
JJ
here.
Bleday.
The Rangers,
Oh,
JJ Bleday was non tendered,
yeah, it made me
but
sad.
Adolis Garcia and Jonah Heim, two very key players for the Rangers World Series team from 2023. Uh, they were non-tendered, so they hit free agency. Um, and when we get to the trade discussion on the Rangers, I think this move makes sense, like more sense, because they were trying to free up some money for adding a certain player to their roster. Um, I think that these guys are both pretty interesting players. I mean, like, wasn't Hyman All Star a couple years ago? Adolis Garcia was also a multi-time All Star that
Yeah, so
has
Jonah
had
Heim has been
serious
very,
success.
very solid behind the plate for the Rangers the last couple of years. In the year that they won the World Series, so what was that, 21? No, not
23.
21, 23. They basically had the entire um, All Star lineup, and both of these guys were part of that. Jonah Heim is kind of the guy that they have been trusting to be their long term catcher for years now. He's dealt with a couple injuries here and there, but they brought up Sam Huff and then just kind of threw him out. Same with a couple other catchers. And so now Kyle Higashioka at 36 is going to be their primary backstop. And you have Jonah Heim, who I believe was an ARB, right?
Yep, they're both ARB guys. They were both heading into their final year of control. So Garcia was going to be probably making like 12 million, and Jonah Heim was going to be making 6 million for 2026. So they're saving money.
Yeah, I don't quite get that with Heim though. Like 6 million is not that extreme for a good catcher.
Yeah,
So
I guess.
I could understand the Adolis Garcia thing. Makes a ton of
Yeah,
sense. He's definitely on the older side. He wasn't nearly as good last year as he had been in the past. He's $12 million is a substantial amount of money. So that one I get. Jonah Heim, I don't.
I guess the one thing about Jonah Heim is that you mentioned the 2023 season where he was pretty awesome.
Mhm.
That is looking like the clear, like, offensive outlier season. The last 2 years, he's had a 72 WRC plus and a 69 WRC plus. So he's
Nice.
not really a great hitter, and it looks like his defense is also taking a nosedive. So I guess it makes sense to me. Like maybe I was overrating Jonah Hyman, maybe you are too.
Yeah, I mean, let's be real. I don't watch the Rangers very much. Out of all
You're
the
not
teams
supposed to
that,
tell the fans that.
well, but I'm not going to lie and say I know everything about him and that I stand by my statement. I could very easily be wrong. There's 30 teams. That's a lot to try and watch in a single day. So, but yeah, I guess that makes sense. And then Evan Phillips from the Dodgers, right? Dodgers bullpen.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
which he was their closer here for about a year and a half.
Yeah. Basically
So
from mid like 2022 through 2024. He was one of the best, if not the best, reliever the Dodgers had. He's recovering from Tommy John surgery right now. So this is just a move like it's a roster crunch situation where they just could not hold him on the roster probably and pay him his our salary. But he's going to end up with some team, and we're going to forget about Evan Phillips, and then he's going to show up in August or September, and he's going to be pitching like meaningful innings probably for some team.
Yeah. Which that one makes a lot of sense too. The Dodgers do have a massive roster crunch pretty much all the time. So
Yep. And speaking of relievers, a couple relievers have already signed deals. Raisel Iglesias is back with the Braves. And then Phil Maton signed a 2-year deal with the Cubs, which is unusual because the Cubs never sign any relievers to multi-year deals. And the fact that they did tells a lot about Maton himself and just this reliever market in general, because Maton, pretty interestingly, like signed super late last year with the Cardinals for $2 million, and he went on to have probably his best season he's ever had. He struck out 32% of batters, had a 2.81 ERA, and now he's got himself a multi-year deal with the club option for 2028, which is a pretty nice situation considering he had to sign like basically right during spring training last year.
yeah. And Maton, I'm a little surprised it took him that long to get a contract last year because he has been a solid reliever throughout his entire career. Like, yeah, he's had some ups and downs, but his downs are not like abysmal by any means. And his ups are very good. So he is a very reliable guy. The Cubs are getting a very good reliever here in Maton, and he's from Central Illinois, about halfway, but a little closer to St. Louis, but right between St. Louis and Chicago. So like he's still sort of a hometown kid, even though he grew up a Cardinal fan. He just came from the Cardinals this year. There's still kind of that uh, home feel for him, which I think is probably going to be big because
Yeah.
he really, really liked pitching close to home. So I have a feeling that he'll probably like Wrigley too. So
Yeah. And yeah, just on that reliever market, there are a lot of really good closers this year, I feel like, on the market. Like Devin Williams and some of the older guys like Kenley Jansen and others that I guess I think the Cubs are doing something smart by signing this guy now. I don't know what the terms of the deal were, but I think some of these other relievers are going to get really big deals um, as the winter
well,
progresses.
yeah, because like you've got Helsley and like a couple other guys like that are all on the market as well. So
Edwin Diaz.
yeah. Oh well, yeah, that's the big one. But you have enough like high leverage, high velocity relievers that are kind of the sexy reliever signings that those guys are going to get a lot of money. Maton doesn't throw 104, and so he's not that
No,
sexy signing. But he's a great seventh, eighth inning guy. So signing him now, setting the market with him, you're probably getting him at cost savings here.
could be. Yeah. Let's get into some trades here because we had a few trades over the last week or so, and two of them are really quite interesting. So the one that broke last week was the Angels acquired Grayson Rodriguez from the Orioles, and in return, the Orioles acquired Taylor Ward from the Angels. This just blew my mind because I didn't see this one coming. There were no rumors about it, and then all of a sudden, this young uh, supposed like future ace in Grayson Rodriguez is going to the Angels for a 1-year rental type player in Taylor Ward. It's like seemingly very bizarre. Can you make sense of this one?
So no, that would be my first answer. No, I cannot. Um, So Taylor Ward is great. Like he's been a very, very, very good player the last few years. He's actually been the centerpiece of the Angels offense, even though Mike Trout's still on the team. He's been healthy. He's been the guy that's been able to produce. He's not like an insanely amazing hitter. Like his WRC plus the last 3 years, 108, 112, 117. So like he's solidly above average. This past year, he had a career high in home runs with 36. He's a high walk guy. His on base percentage is about 100 points higher than his average, which is kind of necessary given how low his average tends to be. But he's a very, very good player that plays every day. In the last 2 years, he's played 156 and 157 games, and that's really the first time that he's got the opportunity to play that many games. So the Orioles are bringing in a veteran presence that has pop. He has the ability to get on base, and I think they're just wanting a little bit more of a sure thing with all these young guys that are kind of going through their growing pains. So from an offensive standpoint, this move makes sense for the Orioles. This makes sense for the Angels because Taylor Ward, only 1 year left, he's probably not going to re-sign. They are usually abysmal at pitching. So what do? You go out and you try and get a good young pitcher that can come out and just kind of finally break out with you. And that's exactly what they're hoping from Grayson. On that same point, though, the Orioles were not working from a position of strength with their pitching. So they traded from one of their weakest spots to add to a lineup that probably is going to naturally regress to the mean of being better. So I don't get it. Like, unless they're going to make a major move on the pitching front, this is a horrific decision, in my opinion, for the Orioles.
Yeah. There's got to be more moves coming, but just assessing the trade as is, for the Grayson side, like the Orioles must not believe in one of two things. One, like his health itself, because this guy didn't pitch at all in 2025. He had injuries that, like multiple arm injuries in 2025 itself, and he had an elbow debridement procedure to remove bone spurs that apparently have been persisting since like 20, like 3 or 4 years ago at least. And even before that, he was injured the prior season. He hasn't pitched since midsummer 2024. So they either like think that this health situation is going to persist, and that's honestly not a bad bet because the the most likely injured pitcher is a guy that's already been injured in the past. The second thing is that the the relationship broke down between Grayson and the team, whether it be in the injury rehab or just they weren't getting through to him and they needed to move him because just there was conflict in that relationship. But yeah, I mean the Angels are taking a bet that this super talented guy that used to be the top pitching prospect in baseball before he debuted. He doesn't even need to be healthy for the length of his remaining like team control. He just needs to have like some healthy periods in the next 4 seasons where the Angels will control him. Like
Yeah.
he
And that's
being
the
healthy in three
key.
of the
That's the key part for
yeah,
me
like
is
if
he has 4 years of control left. 1 year of that is
exactly.
still pre-arb. He's getting paid almost league minimum. If I were the Orioles, I would have wrote him out for 1 more year. And then if it didn't work
Yeah,
out, then you just cut him before he starts
definitely.
getting expensive. So
Yeah. So like even in the situation scenario where Grayson is healthy for like 2 out of the 4 years and he pitches really well in those periods, then this is going to be a slam dunk win trade for the Angels.
Yeah.
Okay. And then today we had another trade. Um, Out of the blue, two like pretty well established big name players got moved for each other. Brandon Nimmo from the Mets sent to Texas, and then Texas in return sends Marcus Simeon back to the Mets. And they both have several years left on their deal. Simeon has 3 more remaining seasons under contract, and Brandon Nimmo has 5 on his big deal that he signed several years ago now. But um, what's going on here? Why are we making this trade?
So I could see a couple of things here. So one, um, let's just look at the money. So Brandon Nimmo is making 20.25 million AAV. What is the AAV for Simeon? Do you know? I
I
don't
don't
have
know
that
off the
one
top
up
of my
yet.
head. I can pull that up though.
Uh,
So Simeon has 26 million, and 20 million over his next 3 years. So that's an AAV of 24 million for three
okay,
years.
so you're clearing a little bit of space by
Yep,
making this move of giving up Simeon, who is now 34,
he's 35.
35. Um, so you're clearing up a little bit of room there. He's coming off of a bad season. Just there's no other way to say it. 89
Yep.
WRC plus, 15 home runs, 230 average. Like he was not playing well this past year. He's 2 years removed from a career year, um, but like his numbers have just kind of dwindled quickly over the last 2 years. So I think part of it is the Rangers want to try and move on, get a little bit younger, be able to improve their offense, which Nimmo is uh, still a solidly above average hitter in the last 2 seasons when he's also not had the best couple years. But he's 3 years younger. You're thinking the aging curve moves out a little bit. From the Mets' perspective, they need a second baseman. They've kind of not really known who they were going to have in at any given point. They've tried running out Luis Angel
Different deal.
Acuna. Brett Beatty, I think, played some second.
Yeah, I think so.
And so they just have not been able to find an answer. So now you're bringing in Simeon, who's going to lock it down at second base, or at least hold the spot. He's still very good defensively. So
I
you
was gonna
feel
say the same
comfortable with
thing.
that.
Like this is almost like a Mets defensive upgrade because they sort of need that defensive help, especially with the current roster alignment. Having like Juan Soto in the field and random guys playing center field, and it's like not a good defensive team. And adding Simeon is a clear upgrade over any of those other guys you were trying to roll out there.
Yeah. Now, for the Rangers, this makes a lot of sense after DFAing or non tendering Adolis Garcia because
Yep.
Nemo is going to slot in left field, and he's not the best left fielder, but it's also left field. So,
Right.
how much do you really care as long as he's not like absolutely Kyle Schwarber bad or Nick Castellanos bad? You really don't care. So, you've got him to take left field. It gives you the ability to bring up some of your young guys that have been just trying to find a way into this lineup for the Rangers in the middle infield specifically. Um, it's going to give one of those guys a shot. It helps offset a little bit of the offense that you're losing from cutting Ottolese, Jonah Heim, and Marcus Simeon all at the same time. So this move makes a lot of sense in both directions, I think.
Yeah.
Surprised to
I
see it
think
happen, but
I am too. You just don't usually see players with this much money left on their deals get moved for each other, but I guess that's why it kind of works out. And yeah, it's kind of like filling needs that both teams have. Texas needed a lot of help with their offense last year, and Simeon is clearly on the decline. And Nimmo, he didn't have the best season, but he's clearly the better, more valuable offensive player at this stage of their careers compared to Simeon. And I think there's some bounce back. I mean, Nimmo hit his career high in home runs this past year. Like there might be bounce back. There might be even better days ahead.
Well, and he's actually been right about the same point the last 3 years, home runs wise 24, 23, 25. So it kind of feels like he's in his prime here. His average has been better most of his career. He just kind of, well, like 262 this year, 224 in 2024. But before that, he was like a 280, 290 guy. So
Yeah,
it's
but the
it's kind of
weirdest
like
thing
he's
that I
sold
noticed
out
with
for power
Nimmo
a little bit, is kind of what it feels
a little
like.
bit,
But
but the
I
weirdest part
think,
about his profile was that he just became super impatient. He stopped walking. That was a thing that Nimmo did year in, year out. He would walk a ton, and then this year it dropped down to like 7%.
yeah. So I don't know. I think it'll be interesting to see how this works out. But I like it for the Rangers for sure. Um, because was it Ezekiel Duran? I think has been just trying to find a space to play.
Yeah,
Is that who it is? Is Duran that I'm thinking?
they've got they've got Josh Smith as well. I think he might be the next guy up at second base.
Well, and then I think don't they also have like Maximo Acosta and a couple other guys that are like getting close-ish?
I couldn't tell you. I don't know.
No. Looks like Sebastian Walcott is their top prospect now.
Yeah, I don't think he's close though.
Double A.
He's super young. He's like 19.
Yeah. So hmm.
Yeah. And we're going to skip the last trade so we can get into our game here. Are you ready to play?
I am ready to play.
Awesome. So we're going to finally get to talk about some free agents here. I'm going to filter this here on the Fangraphs tracker by the AAV from the crowdsource. So our first free agent, the clear number one free agent in this class, Kyle Tucker, who Fangraphs crowdsource has at 8 years and 280 million. That's 35 million AAV. And he obviously rejected his QO. And I'm just gonna randomly assign you the the pay side here
Okay, so I'm
for
getting
Kyle
the pay
Tucker.
side.
So yeah,
So basically, this is easy. This is a dude who is a not necessarily number one in the MVP race every year because obviously he hasn't won an MVP. But Kyle Tucker is one of those guys who has MVP talent and has consistently played to that level throughout his career. I believe he is finished in the top 5 in MVP voting one time in 2023.
was that 2022? Oh, 2023.
2023. But a lot of the reason that he hasn't has been games played. 2023 was the last time that he played a full season. But in that full season, he hit 284, 369, 517 with 29 home runs and led the league with 112 RBIs, playing a very, very good right field. Or playing a pretty good right field, I guess is what I should say. Kyle Tucker has, over the last 5 years, eclipsed 4 WAR every single year. The last time that he did not have 4 WAR was the shortened 2020 season, and before that was his rookie season that he played 22 games. So you're constantly, if you value 1 WAR at $8 million, you're at 32 million floor. And he's actually been 4.9, 4.9, 4.9, 4.2, 4.5. So $35 million is kind of a steal for this guy. He's 28 going into his age 29 season, so you'll have him for 29 through 36, I believe, if you sign him for 8 years. So you're getting the end of his prime and the beginning of the downcline, most likely. But any team that is going to add Kyle Tucker is already at a point where they're contending. So adding this guy now is going to take your contender. Basically, if you're, say, 10th best odds to win the World Series, you sign Kyle Tucker, you just catapult yourself into probably number 5. So that's the reason that you do pay Kyle Tucker.
Oh, I got to take the other side. So I watched Kyle Tucker all season, and the thing about Kyle Tucker is he is your like five quote unquote 5 tool player. He does a lot of things super well, but I would not consider him to be elite in any one tool. He doesn't have that crazy raw power. He's not like a 300 hitter. He is actually pretty slow by raw sprint speed, and that's only going to get worse as he heads into his 30s. Um, he's a right fielder. It's not like he's playing an up the middle position. And just overall, none of those tools really stand out and say, like, I am a top 10 player in any one of those traits. So, from that perspective, I'm not like wanting to line up to give him this mega deal because he just may not really age gracefully because none of those carrying tools are starting at such a level that's so high that he has so much room to drop off. So I don't know. Maybe we've already seen the best of Kyle Tucker. And then these injuries that he's sustained the last couple of years, they are also concerning to me because he's missed a ton of time. He played through a lot of injuries this past year. He missed like more than half the season a year ago.
on
And
on a freak injury.
they were freak injuries this year too.
Yeah, like
I'm
so
just saying, like
none of
they're
these
piling up though.
injuries, they do pile up. They do tax the body, but none of them are like a chronic shoulder injury. None of them are a chronic
Right.
elbow injury. Plus, this is a guy with the patience to walk more than he strikes out, or at least right on par, because he's in 24 in the 78 games that he did play before essentially just shattering his tibia on a foul ball that he got every bit of. He walked 16.5% of the time and struck out 15.9. This past year, he had nearly identical walking K rates at 14.6 and 14.7. So, yeah, he doesn't have elite contact. He doesn't have elite power. He doesn't have elite speed, but he has all the underlying abilities to be able to continue to put the bat on the ball. And I think as he starts to change his swing as he gets older to do one or the other, I think he'll be fine.
Okay, let's move on to the next guy, Alex Bregman. Alex Bregman, I'm gonna take the pay Alex Bregman side this time, and I'll go first. So Alex Bregman, he has been an elite third baseman for a long time. Like he regularly is putting up 4 and 5 win seasons. He opted out of his big contract with the Red Sox after he got off to a phenomenal start, and then he just got injured, and then kind of struggled to the finish line. But before he got injured, he was doing some ridiculous things, playing his consistently great elite third base defense, and then hitting extremely well in a ballpark that suited him in Fenway Park. Um, I think the other thing about Alex Bregman that is unique, special, is his supposed leadership skills and clubhouse presence that he brings to a team. Like the Red Sox were giving him like crazy amounts of credit for um, kind of the value that he brought off the field and he's been credited with some of that back to his days in Houston, even like helping pitchers. Like Hunter Brown is has credited Alex Bregman with helping him develop a new pitch or like tell him to use this certain pitch that kind of skyrocketed his career. So Alex Bregman brings this intangible value, but also he brings great on the field skills that have not really lagged. And even when he has a down season, it's still kind of all star worthy. What was the crowdsource value here? It was 5 years and 155 million. That's a $31 million AAV. I think that's very reasonable for Alex Bregman. I would have no concerns at all about giving him that deal.
So I agree with a lot of what you said here. I do worry that his numbers are a little bit, I don't want to say inflated because that's not the right word. Like the numbers are what they are. He did what he did. But what is something that Houston, Dakin Stadium or Minute Maid Park or whatever the heck it's called now, and Fenway Park have in common? What is it?
Short left fields that very much suit his style of play, where he always likes to pull the ball.
Short left fields for a pull hitter without a ton of like raw power. He is very
Right.
much a Nolan Arenado, Jose Ramirez type hitter. In fact, he's kind of just Jose Ramirez and Nolan Arenado, period. Like all three of those guys have very similar, um, kind of similar careers, really. Um,
Yeah.
the only difference is J Ram, I believe, is a switch hitter, correct?
Yes.
Whereas Nolan and Alex Bregman are both righties. So let's take the Arenado comparison here. They're both elite defenders with pull power and fairly solid averages. This is Arenado at the same age. Obviously, this is not Nolan Arenado right now. Bregman's going into his age 32 season. He's going to start aging soon. And if he ages like his contemporary with a very similar career, that pull power is going to get a lot harder to use. And I just worry that if he doesn't play in a specific style of park like he has been for his entire career, if you go play in Baltimore for 81 games a year, most of his home runs are going to be flyouts. And his 4 WAR is going to be like a WAR and a half from defensive WAR only. And so I have a lot of questions with his specific style for most teams in the league. Can he get that money? Yeah, absolutely. Should most teams do it? Probably not, because he's not a good fit for their ballpark. And with aging, you're at
No,
age
I
36, I'm not buying it. Like, I don't. I think this is the contract he should have gotten a year ago. But now I think you almost have to detract just based on that.
yeah, no, I think I totally agree with everything you said. I just took the other side because I wanted to exercise my brain, but I'm really not an Alex Bregman fan, and he would be best suited to probably sign back with Boston because that's like the right ballpark for him.
Yeah, 100%. And they like him in Boston. So, like, if Boston is smart, they go and get their man. And
I think they have to.
they probably give him this contract. Is he going to
I
be
think they
worth it
give
the
him
whole
more. I
time?
think probably not. Yeah.
No. I don't think he's going to be
Okay.
worth that in 3 years. So, but
All
hey,
right.
he is
Next
one of the
guy.
best free agents we got right now. So,
Yeah. We're gonna keep working our way down this list. And this is a fun one because he's a guy that's not coming off an injured season. He's not coming off a down season. He's coming off a monster season, and that's Kyle Schwarber, who's hitting free agency at age 33. And Fangraphs has him at 4 years and 112 million, which is that's a monster deal for a DH only.
see, that's what, 22 and a half?
That's 28 million per year.
Oh, 20. Yeah, that. 28 million a year for a full-time DH. I wait, which side do I get?
I'll let you pick this time which side you want to take.
So it's gonna sound odd given the way I started that, but I'm actually gonna go with why you should sign him.
Okay,
Um,
go for it.
I think Kyle Schwarber is a great player to have on your team. Yes, he is a full-time DH. He is kind of the National League equivalent of Giancarlo Stanton, with some exceptions. Health, heavily in Schwarber's favor. Cult following, heavily in Schwarber's favor. Like, this man has ingratiated himself into all three cities he has played in, and he only played in Boston for half a year. Like, but they loved him. Philly absolutely loves this man. He made his name in Chicago. They put an acrylic case over a ball that he hit in the postseason on top of the scoreboard at Wrigley Field. That's insane. Some of the things this man does are just amazing. Like, I can't believe that a human body can do that. And because he is a DH, he has been able to stay incredibly healthy in his time with Philly. Really, the only time that he's been like injured has been that 2016 season where he played 2 games and then he came back in the World Series. And ever since then, he's just been healthy and he's been good. He's monster power. And the last couple years, that just seems to have accelerated. He kind of feels like modern Nelson Cruz to me, where it's just the older he gets, the more home runs he gets, you're losing any semblance of other value that this man has. But 56 home runs, 111 runs scored, 132 RBIs with a 365 OBP because he walks 15% of the time. You'll take that any day of the week. Yeah, 28 million a year for 4 or 5 years or whatever it was. That's a lot of money. But I mean,
Yeah.
this man's pretty much proved that at least those first 2 years, he's more than likely going to out earn what you're paying him. Same thing I mentioned earlier of the 8 million per WAR, which is probably an old number, probably higher than that now. But he would be worth almost $40 million this past year. So you're getting him at a steal for this year and probably the year after that. And then when he starts to decline because he's old, so what? He might have just won you a World Series.
Okay, my turn.
Yep.
And I hate that you made me take the downside for Kyle Schwarber
You're
because you know
welcome.
that I love this player. So I think we just got to look back at 2023. Kyle Schwarber had a very, very odd, unusual season. He hit 47 home runs, but he hit 197 that year, and he was worth less than a win above a replacement. So that's like the downside risk of Kyle Schwarber. He's always going to have that power. I have no question that that will carry through his next contract till he's like in his late 30s or whatever. But there is huge, huge collapse risk that that strikeout rate just creeps up a little bit, and then he runs into the BABIP bad luck, which is kind of related to his style as a hitter. He's very fly ball reliant, and um, he's just not gonna get a lot of hits that are not homers, and that can be hugely detrimental to a lineup. And plus, he's just straight up clogging up your DH spot. Like, you can't rotate players, you can't give guys extra days off because you got to play Schwarber every single day in that DH spot. He has zero value, like you mentioned, to play the field at this point in his career. So you're getting a very one-dimensional player that's just dependent on power. And if it's power only, then you don't want that guy as your DH because he's kind of replaceable by either a group of players or just a player that has more of a diverse skill set than Schwarber.
And
So
I
that was my attempt
I was gonna say
at the
I
downside
know that you
case
didn't
there.
want that side. I'm gonna give a counterpoint to that anyway, and then you can agree with me on the counterpoints. 2023 was a weird season for him in general because they were forcing him to play left field pretty much every day. I think a lot of his like brain was trying to go to it not being abysmal in the outfield, and so that kind of it's we've seen guys make positional changes and then improve on one side of the ball because it's just easier for them. They don't have to think as hard. It gives them more time to practice on what they're good at. And so I think that's kind of why we started seeing him resurge in 24 and 25. Um, and is the replaceability factor? You can replace like 30 to 40 home runs. I don't think you can replace almost 60 with by committee. That's special. So,
That is true. Yep.
but yeah, I know that you wanted to be on the AM side. So sorry.
No, I appreciate it. I like the challenge. So let's talk about a couple pitchers here. So um maybe the top pitcher on the free agent market, at least Fangraphs believes so, Framber Valdez. And Fangraphs has him at a 5-year, $140 million deal. That's 28 million per. And I'm gonna take the case for Framber here. Framber is just rock solid. It's like he is just about as dependable a pitcher you can find anywhere in the league. He's pretty much a modern day workhorse. Just going back to 2022, he's pitched 201, 198, 176, 192 innings in each of the last 4 years now. And he just keeps getting it done. I mean, 282 ERA, 345 ERA, 291 ERA, 366 ERA. So a bad season for Framber's like mid threes ERA, and with WARs like in the four win range every year. So it's like you pretty much know what you're going to get. You're getting an all-star pitcher, and I think he's going to be able to hold up and continue to succeed as he gets into his um, later 30s because he's not a power pitcher. He doesn't have elite velocity. He relies on getting ground balls and weak contact. There's very few pitchers in the entire league that get more ground balls than Framber. And he's a great competitor. He's got all kinds of postseason experience. He's won a World Series. I mean, he's he seems like the safest bet to give a long-term pitcher deal that I can think of. He just he's got all the aspects of pretty much of top of rotation type pitcher, and that's why I think he's gonna get paid. I would have no issue with being the one to give him that deal. He's just such a stabilizing force for some rotation.
So only my only knock on Framber is he's been incredible, and his numbers have seemingly been consistent across his career. But what I've noticed is over the past 3 to 4 years, the hard hit rate against him and the launch angle against him have just been creeping up. Not to the point where it's a problem, but that's a trend that is happening. Like he's now at shoot, where did I just have? I scrolled away from it on accident. The hard hit rate against him is now up to about 46% from what was typically in the low 40s early in his career. His average launch angle, instead of being negative ground ball, is now creeped up to in the last couple of years. It's been like or between like 2.5 and 5 degrees, and that's not insane. That's line drives, but it's that trend. Is that going to continue to happen? If that continues to happen, you're going to see his incredibly low home run rate of zero point 0.7 homers per nine, which is the highest it's been in years. Um, that'll get closer to where the home run bug is actually going to be a problem for him. So that's the
Yeah,
only
well, it's hard
knock
to
I
hit a
can
home
see on
run.
him.
It's hard to hit a home run when you're always giving up ground balls, though, and
True,
that's what Framber does.
exactly. But I don't know. It's nitpicky at best, but sometimes that's the job.
Yeah.
So
Well, I guess what we're learning here is as we go through the very, very top of the free agent market, it's way easier to make the case for these guys than against them. They're really good free agents. So that should be
yeah,
pointed out. Should we
I,
do a couple more?
I think so.
Okay.
If
The
we
next
if we
guy on this
just go
list,
down the list in order, the next two guys are incredibly intriguing to me. But if we want to stick
yes.
with pitchers, I'm fine with that.
Let's just keep going on the list as it's written here because yeah, you're right. These are two uh I'd say polarizing players because I think they're gonna a lot of people are gonna have different opinions on what uh what they're gonna get, and it's gonna be yeah intriguing. So the next guy is Cody Bellinger. Fangraphs has him at 5 years, 135 million. That's 27 million average, and he's coming off a pretty awesome season with the Yankees. So he sort of has reestablished his value. He opted out of his deal. Uh, do you want to take the case for Cody Bellinger?
Do you want the case against Cody Bellinger? I,
I could go either way. I'll let you take the case for him because I took the last guy.
uh, so yeah, I'll take four. So Cody Bellinger is one of those guys that has had a weird career.
Very
Um,
weird.
where he was rookie of the year, he won an MVP 2 years later, and then just kind of fell off the face of the earth. But 3 years ago, going to Chicago, fresh home, kind of refound his career. Where he hit 307, 356, 525 with 26 home runs, getting above 100 WRC plus for the first time in a couple of years, put up 4.4 WAR, and then 24 still better than any of the 3 years prior to him joining the Cubs, but a down year at 2.1 WAR, still above average offensively. His defense really kind of struggled that year. And then this year with the Yankees, he had a great season. Almost hit 30 home runs. He had 29 home runs, hit 272, 334, 480 for 125 WRC plus, almost 5 WAR. And so I think looking at his career, he's been good more often than he has been bad. And he's proven that he still very much has some good play left in him in the last 3 years. So that middle bit, that 2020 to 2022, I'm willing to chalk that up as a fluke. Like his strikeout rate just went through the roof in those couple years. It's kind of like he had the yips. And so now that he's gotten over that, he's been ridiculously good. And playing in Yankee Stadium has been really good for him. Getting the short porch there, I think that's probably like the best location he could go back to. But he has enough power that he can get the ball out in any park. So like you're not terribly concerned there. He's never probably going to hit 47 home runs again, like he did in his MVP season. But he has enough other parts of his game that you don't necessarily care if he's not hitting 50 home runs.
Yeah, I think you kind of hit on it. The dependence on Yankee Stadium. I think that's a huge reason why he did have such a big bounce back compared to 2024 when he played half his games in Chicago, which is a way worse place for left-handed hitters to play. I think I'm scared about Cody Bellinger as much as I think he's a good talent. He's a good player. He just you don't know what you're going to get. Just looking at the volatility of his career. He's had an MVP season. He's had a negative WAR season on the ledger. Like it's just like over a long period of time. If I'm giving Cody Bellinger like a 5-year deal, I'm just kind of you almost have to bake in the fact that he's probably going to have a down year, if not 2 down years. When you factor in aging, maybe he's going to really be a major bust in his contract. It's very possible. There, there's like no other player at the top of the free agent class that has this wide of error bars on the the performance that he's going to provide. So it's also he's now like pretty much just a corner outfielder or a first baseman. He's not really capable of playing great center field defense anymore. So that's another knock on Bellinger, and he doesn't crush the ball. I think he was a huge beneficiary of Yankee Stadium, and he still couldn't even crack 30 home runs. Not that 29 home runs is pretty solid, but it's it's not likely to that if you were to sign with like the Giants.
So this is not the nature of this game in particular, but I have an idea. And I want you to tell me if I'm crazy. What if, with a brand new front office, a brand new manager, it doesn't sound like it would be the move that they would make. But what if the Rockies signed him to be the next Charlie Blackmon, basically? Put him in right field. They have that right field there is I mean, it's a high wall. It's a little bit shorter. Like it's their left field that's massive. And that left center corner. Like if you could get Cody in Denver hitting at that wall, I think he'll be just fine with the home runs. And then you've got a guy that you've got Brenton Doyle there for center field, so you can leave him in right. And you have that veteran presence that they were really hoping to get with Chris Bryant. And we all know how that one worked out. Injuries are not a problem for Cody Bellinger. Like, he doesn't play 160 games, but he plays 130. Like, it's still a very good amount of the season. And I think that might not be a crazy idea because they're not good enough to necessarily need him to be good every single season.
Yeah. No, I agree. It seems like it would work, but it's also I doubt that Cody Bellinger is going to be motivated by money, and if the Rockies want to get a player like Cody Bellinger, they're going to have to like massively overpay, right? Cody Bellinger is in it for the winning, I assume.
Yeah, that's fair.
So I don't know.
What about the
We
Dodgers?
we will. It would be a perfect fit, to be honest. Like, isn't that exactly what they need? They need a corner outfielder
I mean, yeah.
that plays good defense. Cough, cough. Teoscar Hernandez can't really do it.
Yeah, pretty much. So
So that would be an interesting reunion
it's
for
not
sure.
exactly a small right field, though.
No, it is a good place to hit home runs, though.
True. And then you're also playing in San Francisco and Colorado. So,
They balance each other out, right?
yeah, that's true.
Yeah. You want to do one more, and then stop for now?
Yeah, let's do one more, and then we'll come up with another game, or maybe we continue this game for
Yeah.
next week. Who knows?
Okay. Our last guy for today is a near World Series champion, now a free agent, and that would be Bo Bichette. And I'll just look at Fangraphs. Fangraphs has him getting a 7-year, $189 million median total contract. That's 27 average.
You said
Which side do you
seven
want
one
to
eighty
take on?
nine.
Yes. That sounds a lot like Willie Adames' deal from last year.
Yeah. I want you to take 4 because I
Okay.
want to think about this, but I have some thoughts.
Okay. So Bo Bichette, He is a really, really, really good hitter. And pretty much if you exclude his 2024 season, this guy's like regularly a 3-4 win player, an all-star type player, and he's got these skills that are elite for contact. Pretty much a 300 hitter or right near 300 every year of his career except for 2024, where he was just hampered by injuries and stuff. And we saw it here in the World Series where he hadn't played in like 6 weeks, and he rolls out of bed basically, and he's just getting hits left and right. He didn't need any like break-in period. He looked fantastic at the plate. Obviously, his knee was bugging him and stuff, but even through that, he can hit under any circumstance. He can handle any type of pitcher, velocity, off speed. It's like this guy's got unreal tools as a hitter. Um, and that's reason enough to give him a big deal. If you think he's a shortstop, it's a no brainer. There's kind of a lot of people that think that Bo is probably moving off shortstop for the long term, and even then, you've got a second baseman who probably would be one of the top second basemen in the league in terms of an offensive player, and then with his uh, skills as a defender, probably the transition to second base is going to be good for him in the long run for his body and just being a really solid contributor. So I think Bo is like he's not necessarily like your cornerstone player of your franchise, hopefully, if you're a contender, but he's a fantastic like second best player on your team. And he's going to be rock solid like through his 30s, and he's a young free agent too. He's the youngest guy in this class essentially, where he'll just be 28 next year. So good bet for the long run. And he's kind of like a Dansby Swanson or a Willie Adames, where the the ceiling's not sky high, but the floor is extremely high that he'll succeed and be valuable.
So I have exactly two things that I worry about with Bo Bichette. One of them he could work on and maybe fix. The other one, I'm not so sure. Um, one of them is his defense. He is not a great defensive shortstop at all. He is, for most of his career, has been slightly positive on the defensive side. This year, that very much went away. I think part of it was the knee problems that he was having. Just he didn't have that mobility. But that brings me to my other point: is his knee. I have bad knees. Once a knee starts not working right, it very seldom fixes itself. So unless he goes and has some kind of surgery that gives him the knee of a 16-year-old, I don't think that he's going to get a lot of that mobility back. It took him from being fairly quick to being one of the slowest guys in the league here at the end of the year because he just could not move. He was station to station in the postseason, and that was kind of a problem. So yeah, you could get every hit in the world, but if your knee is not good enough to get you from first to third on like a ball into the gap, that's really not looking good for a 7-8 year contract. And it takes away from your defense, and that's not necessarily, you don't give a Dansby Swanson or a Willie Adames contract to a second baseman.
That's true.
You give that to a shortstop, period. Willie Adames is a good defensive shortstop. Dansby Swanson is a good defensive shortstop. They are guys that people believe will be shortstops for the entirety of that contract. That's why they paid them like that. Second base is a very important position, but it is not nearly as taxing as shortstop. So it's probably the better move to put him at second base, but then he's not worth this contract. So it's my point isn't so much that you shouldn't pay him at all. It's that you should not pay him like a shortstop. You should pay him like a really, really good second baseman. And if you do that,
And
I have no problems, because if he ages to the point where he just can't get around and his defense just continues to dwindle, he is a good enough hitter. You give him a DH position and a part-time role in the field.
yeah, I guess last thing just on the health of Bichette, with him being 28 and they announced that he's not getting knee surgery over the offseason, I think he's going to be fine with more rest. He obviously they needed to rush him back to get him to play in the World Series,
Yeah.
but I'm gonna bounce back. I'm gonna like bank on some better health for Bo
Yeah,
next
but
year.
his stolen bases and everything, like he was a 25-25 guy in 2021. Like this is a dude who had some speed. Um,
Yeah,
and it dropped off, and I think part of that is just that he quit stealing or quit trying to steal. But
I think that's what it was. Yeah,
but with that coupled with now a nagging knee injury, I don't love it for the long term.
fair enough. All right. Did we like passer pay?
I did like passer pay.
All right. Cool. Well, we will maybe pick up on this at a later date or do something else. Um, thank you so much for joining us today, and we will talk to you next time.
If you enjoy the podcast, please subscribe on your favorite podcasting app or YouTube to make sure you don't miss any future episodes. Join the conversation on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Getaway Day Pod. If you enjoy card collecting, check out our sister YouTube channel at Getaway Day Cards.